President Trump has formally notified Congress that hostilities with Iran resumed on July 7th. So that now obviously restarts this 60-day war powers resolution, which was passed, mind you, by both the House and the Senate. And there have
only
been
because Jim
strikes.
Thune lost his seat and because he did a protest vote against Trump. Thune was the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and that was
and wait, I also add, this is what we'll touch on this a little later. Thune was also the only Republican to not vote for merging the Israeli and U.S. militaries in terms of an intelligence and technological standpoint. The only Republican senator to vote no.
And I think wasn't Massey the only
House Republican? Rand Paul
House Republican.
For it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nancy Pelosi voted for it. Very good things. But yeah, we are going to get down into that. But yes, we now have a
since we're speaking about Iran, we will get into Israel, our U.S. situation later, but the U.S.-Israel relationship is the reason for the Iranian war, honestly. So let's, before we get into that second topic, let's keep diving into the first. We've already had a few to the side discussion. So, Mikhail, why don't you finally take away?
Yes. So there's been renewed strikes on Iran since we last spoke to you all. And with this new 60-day clock, we will see if there will be a new war powers resolution that is brought between both chambers, the Senate and the House, and if the president will even uphold that to begin with. All of these strikes are, once again, in a motion because we can't negotiate whatsoever. And it's actually been stated that Iran is reporting that both Alex Witkoff and Jared Kushner have been making millions and billions of dollars from all of these trades that have happened on these prediction markets from what's been going on with negotiations. So
I mean, dude, all I'll say is, looking at the oil chart, if you knew war was going to happen and the Strait was going to get closed by American efforts, you knew to buy. If you knew there was going to be an actual ceasefire where the United States would back out, you knew to sell. If you knew that they, again, were going to put the ceasefire back out and go back to a hostile war, you knew when to buy. It's annoying, to say the least.
Yeah, it's extremely annoying. And even more recently, we've had actually a tanker, I believe, sunk within the Strait of Hormuz, even though Trump has been touting that, he's guarding it and we're guarding it. But it's complete fabrication across the board. The administration says that Iran violated the June 17th Memorandum of Understanding by targeting commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump has reinstated the blockade of Iranian shipping and ordered aerial refueling of aircraft to remain at the Ben Gurion airport in Israel for more of these additional attacks. And this is going to be a forever war, from what I'm hearing people talking about. This is something that's going to continue on.
Honestly, I think it'll be forever as long as Trump has the power to extend it to forever, but I'm not sure. I want to see if he's going to keep pulling out the whole, ceasefire, and then attack again and say, well, this is new now. I get another 60 days, and then keep doing that pattern. I know Trump doesn't actually want a ceasefire. He doesn't actually want one. He wants Iran He wants Iran to suffer. He wants to come out with like a big victory of destroying the country. I mean, he's even threatened to say, we're going to be talking more about the Israeli side of things later, but the Israeli intelligence told Trump that there was an assassination attempt that was underway or was planned that they put a halt to on Trump's life, which Trump then said, if I get killed, nuke Iran. And then the U.S. intelligence said, following up with that, we have no way of confirming or backing up the Israeli intelligence's claims that there was an assassination plan for the president. And so this just reminds me so much as well of when the Israelis, the Netanyahu's famous PowerPoint presentation that he gave to Obama and Biden as well, and Trump in 1.0, Trump first term, that he chose not to follow. And it was the PowerPoint of why Iran is a threat to the United States on a larger scale point. And then Trump in 2.0, second term, decides, hey, this is a good PowerPoint. This is a nice deck. I agree with these points. Let's go with it, despite these points being counterintuitive to American intelligence. So then that's what we're seeing. I mean, That's what we're seeing, is that this is just a conflict that began with large U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on the 28th with some high-profile assassinations. I mean, we saw the original Iranian supreme leader get murdered in the original waves
Yeah.
of these attacks, and we saw a lot of people involved with the senior leadership also get killed. And people are saying that critics are arguing that the president is trying to sidestep earlier war powers resolution deadlines that expired in May, and that both chambers of Congress previously passed resolutions calling for withdrawal. And that goes back to what I mentioned of
Yeah.
the president just having the ability to toe that line of saying, "Oh, ceasefire for 2 weeks. Oh, well, now it's a new situation now that the ceasefire is broke down." And I'm not sure how long the House is going to have the patience for that, honestly. I'm not sure how much the Republicans, once Trump loses his power, becomes a lame duck, how much they're going to be willing to abide by that. Very interested to see.
They won't be abiding by it at all because they will be understanding that the tide is turning.
Yeah,
and that the
I mean, that's what we're
Democrats
seeing
are
with the
going to have
Democrats.
that huge, hopefully, and what prediction markets and everything is pointing towards is a huge blue wave. And they are now understanding that going through and or following through with any of this president's, whether it's with Iran, whether it's with the SAVE Act, whether it's with the nonsense he's done with the housing bill, which is actually passed because he doesn't know actual procedure in a way when it comes to legislation. But yeah, they're going to very much move away from him because once, he's still continuing on with this magnified rampage on attacking his own GOP supporters, even though they don't fully side with his MAGA views. It's absolutely insane. And he is very much making himself a lame duck president. And it's his own doing. And it's pretty much his own doing. And on top of all this nonsense that is continuing on with Iran, there's been new reports that there's been plans drawn up to actually go ahead and go after Cuba. Full-on invasion and full-on attack of Cuba is some of the plans that these army generals are floating around Donald Trump as a possibility to go after the country, because they have been now going through months of power blackouts consistently, and we're just blockading them left and right. And we're having them suffer to push them to a point where we're just going to have to go in ourselves. And it's a much unfortunate step, and no one in America wants that. No one wants the United States and Cuba at all.
One thing I don't understand about some of these military officials who are like promoting these wars. Now I've known some and met some. This is what I'll say. Every single higher ranking military official I've met, and I've met quite a few of them actually, because my hometown had a war base specifically for higher ranking military officials, and it was a war college. So these people come here as like lieutenants, become lieutenant colonels become colonels become generals, XYZ. And so it's a lot of high ranking officials, and so I just got to meet a few of them through wrestling and other means, because my mother had a cleaning service, and we'd work on the war college a lot of the time as well. And these people are extremely smart. I mean, I have nothing to say negatively about the intelligence I've seen about the people who I've met in these positions. And so that's why it surprises me that some of them who are really in these higher up power positions just want war. And don't get me wrong, I can see an argument for something like Iran if it was a better argument than what the Israelis presented. I mean, but we know based off American intelligence that they weren't close to nukes and they had no intention of attacking America. So then that brings in the idea of why are we even attacking them if they had no intention of attacking us? And then, I mean, with Iraq and Afghanistan, the whole idea was terrorism linked to 9/11, ironically, even though they were Saudi Arabian terrorists. And now they're our biggest arms importer. And also those terrorists were linked to Israel, which is another thing that just got discovered. And but we'll get to that's a whole other thing. But point being is that it's surprising to me how many of these people, if I had the option of a very comfortable job where where I didn't have to do too much because of peace, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy with a time of peace. I would not be looking for, unless there was like an actual imminent threat. And this reminds me of something Condoleezza Rice said earlier, actually, which made me laugh so much, because the argument about the attack on Iran has been, well, they're not a threat to America. And then Condoleezza replies, well, are you going to wait until they're a threat to America? So is that just gonna how we're gonna approach every single foreign situation? Like, oh well, they're not a problem now, but maybe in 50 years they'll have nukes. Maybe in a decade they'll have nukes. Let's just bomb them now and get rid of this competition. I'm like, no, you can't just get rid of countries that you don't like because of their geopolitical beliefs or their religious beliefs. You can't just do that. And that's what the American empire has been doing for decades. And I mean, we saw it in Vietnam with Agent Orange to stop the spread of communism. How'd that go? We lost, and then we ended up murdering and poisoning hundreds of thousands. And then we go further.
Yeah, I actually saw the photos of like the it randomly came up like the effects of Agent Orange on the populations and the babies and all the birth defects from it. Oh my gosh, dude,
it's horrible.
I mean, it's horrifying, and it was actually on Twitter. I saw someone quote tweeted, and they said, it's crazy how hidden and how not talked about America's atrocities have been, and that's obviously very true. Those things.
I mean, there's a reason why so much of the world hates America. There's a very good reason. This is the thing that a lot of people don't get. A lot of people love the American dream globally. A lot of people also who might love the idea of the American dream globally despise the American government. I know a ton of people like that. A ton. I know so many Bosnians who despise America for their involvement in the Bosnian War, but who love America because of the community, the people, the opportunity, the culture, and more. And so that brings me back to what I was saying earlier, is that all these higher ranking officials I met have all been very intelligent and like level-headed and calm, well to explain themselves and more. So then when I see these other individuals who based off my experience, I'd imagine they're similar to the ones I've met, but clearly there's something, maybe I just don't fully, didn't get exposed enough to these people's military beliefs and opinions and geopolitical ideas in order to really form that grasp of them. But it just surprised me how much we see the United States going for another militaristic intervention, militaristic opportunity, attacking Venezuela, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, XYZ Middle Eastern country, Yemen.
We just don't stop.
We just don't stop. There's a reason why so many people are fed up with forever wars in the Middle East.
We were getting ready to go to war with our allies just over Greenland.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally.
this mindset of imperialism is very much eroding our stature within the world. I mean, I saw a poll that globally individuals are viewing China more favorable than the United States,
and they should. China doesn't get involved with jack shit.
No, yeah, no, 100% right. But that should be an issue for us, because once they start becoming the more favorable nation, that's when they are starting to rise and we're starting to fall. And that's kind of like what Xi Jinping was mentioning to Trump when he made that analogy of that one quote that he said, actually, that one, I think it was a Latin quote that he said to him that was basically almost a slap in the face to him, but Trump didn't even realize about it, what it even was, where it even meant. And that, once again, still feeds into the fact that we are rapidly falling in the global stage completely, because this strategy of aggression is failing.
Let's just look at the numbers. From an economic standpoint, this is the stat I always love to pull out, because it's mind-bogglingly true of how we decide to split what we do. Yeah. Now, first I'll present actually the stat. And 25 years ago, we were the top trade partner with every country in the world except for about 2 dozen. Now, China is the top trade partner with every country except for about 2 dozen. We literally flipped positions with China in terms of trade over 25 years. Flipped. They are now the global dominant leader in trade. And then people say, well, it's because they manufacture more. They have these cheaper items and products. America focuses more on technological and financial exports, which is correct. We do have more of a specific niche and expert role in these things that don't require manufacturing in the way that China does, where they just literally have people working in factories hours on end and in poor conditions. We've gotten workers' rights and more. But the issue is that clearly just shows these countries are now getting friendlier and friendlier with China and less friendly with us. So then if we wanted to look at this as a West versus East situation, well, we need Western Europe and the Western world as much as possible. We invaded Venezuela in the West. We we're trying to we're clamoring with Western Europe over Greenland. Western Europe's our greatest ally, and at the same time, we're then exposing ourselves to being unable to handle Iran. And I mean, I know the American military is mightier than Iran's, but the issue is we're fighting a war on the other side of the world. It's that simple. The logistics are difficult to figure out and maintain and handle. And the thing is, the United States is the king at logistics and operations, at air support and more. We're the best at knowing how to do things and get it done efficiently. But when there's just, and I'll add this. If it was anybody but Hesketh and Trump in power, I'd probably be more confident about this. If it wasn't Pete, dumbass Hesketh, frat boy,
we would not even be in this at all.
If it wasn't for the douchebag frat boy who was leading the DOA, I mean the Department of Defense, the Department of War actually. I actually like Department of War over Department of Defense. It's more appropriate. That's what it originally was called anyway. But point being is that I don't have any faith in these guys to be able to get the job done, because clearly seeing what's going on, we're not getting the job done. We're not. What would be a job done in Iran? What would it be? Destroying the country, seizing the Strait of Hormuz, controlling their oil production? What would it be? I really don't know. Nobody does.
Yeah, there is no end game. That's why it's going to be a forever war. I wouldn't say forever war, basically a war until he's
Trump war,
until the next president has to deal with it, and then we actually see some real good diplomacy take place, not this nonsense of sending your son-in-law and JD Vance over to go negotiate when Trump should be there negotiating from the first at bat at this. It never should have been any other mediators or anything like that. It should have been straight Trump and whoever was going to be on the opposite side of Iran, since we had, assassinated the Ayatollahs. Whoever was on the opposite side should have been those two. 100%.
And I want to add, reportedly,
it's ridiculous.
The Iranian negotiators told JD Vance directly that they wanted to talk to him personally for negotiations because they didn't trust Jared Kushner or Steve Witkoff, because they thought they were more aligned with Israeli interests than solely American interests, which I won't say most Americans, because we've got a lot of boomers and Israeli Zionists who are brainwashed, but we got a lot of Americans who will agree, we don't want these people who are aligned with Israeli interests over Americans. And funny enough, after that, JD Vance gets entirely taken off the negotiating team.
Yep.
They don't want peace. The Kushner, Witkoff, Trump, they don't want peace. They want to extend this, stall this out so Israel can benefit from it, so we can screw up Iran a bit. There is no plan here except damaging Iran. That's literally the only plan. I can guarantee you Trump will try to put out some massive news piece or get work to get a massive news piece put out about a huge victory in Iran. He's going to tweet out, huge victory, we're pulling out, and nothing will have changed. Nothing. And it reminds me so much.
Nothing is going to change from it. Our gas prices are going to start continuing to rise, even though they were a little low. Now I've been noticing them rise almost on a,
nearly 20% up in 2 weeks.
Like 20% in 2 weeks. Yeah, basically, yeah. Every 2 to 3 days, I'm seeing them come up. Like, it's not like one, every day I'm seeing it. So every few days, I am seeing that slowly tick back up, back to 4. And it's like, I was like, maybe he'll keep this up until the midterms. Like, try to, keep at bay with Iran and try to give the Republicans some save a face on that issue. But nope. They are right back where they were from the beginning of the summer.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to cost them hugely. And it's going to be nothing but investigations after investigations in every department from this administration. I mean, they're stripping down everything institutionally, and we're seeing the effects of it across the board.